That note, let's hear your takes on God.
Okay.
Why don't you give him a general take you have about whether he exists, if he's personal, who he is.
Um, I'm on the fence about whether he exists or not. I don't think it's a Christian God or really any religion's God, if there is one. But I'd say I am agnostic to the idea of a God.
Interesting. And for those who don't know what agnostic means, it's one that doesn't fall into the Abrahamic one, or one that says, "Oh, I don't know." Um,
It's just that I'm unsure if there is one or not,
yeah.
but I could believe it either way.
Well, with that, I'll guess I'll give my take. Think there is a God because it is metaphysically necessary in a per se causal chain. And for those of you who do not know what that means, it is a chain of causalities happening simultaneously. So the best example would be like an outlet powers a hair dryer. The outlet must be giving causal power to the hair dryer right now, right here, right now, continuously, or the hair dryer would fail to work. That's what a causal that's what a per se causal chain is. So I would say metaphysically we would need a god for that. And then I can break that argument down for you if you want.
Sure, yeah.
All right, yeah. I'll do what Alex O'Connor did because he's just goated. I like him. If you were to stick your arm out, what's sustaining your arm? What's lending causal ability to your arm?
My muscles, my joints and ligaments,
And what is sustaining that?
my bones,
Yeah, we're gonna keep going here, but general thing I'm looking for is body. What's sustaining your body?
the earth,
What's sustaining the earth?
gravity,
What's sustaining gravity?
atoms wanting to get to a lower vibration.
What's sustaining the atoms?
Oh, electrons, neutrons, protons.
What's sustaining those?
I'm not a scientist, bro. I think that's
I
pretty clear
okay.
by the way I talk.
I would. So basically, the argument is it can't go back forever, and the reason why that is because nothing, no potency, no potential would be actualized because nothing's giving anything causal power. And the most simplest way to put that is picture an infinite amount of gears. Those gears are incapable of turning themselves. You need something that is not a gear, that is outside the chain of gears, to turn said gears. Just like well, I won't say dominoes because that's per accidence. But yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can see that. I think it is kind of a naive idea, though, to believe there has to be a God to control those things.
Naive? That's going to be a hot take down in the comments. Elaborate more on your position of it's naive. Do you mean it's optimistic? What do you mean by that exactly?
I believe it's optimistic. I think people who believe in God generally are scared of death, and that's why they believe. Whether that is true or not, it's different for every person, and maybe they don't even know it. But I'm afraid of death too. But I've looked at it and I've said, is it too unlikely? What's more likely? Is there a God or no God? And people say absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, but at a certain point, like it has to be because your friend says he sprays fart spray in this crowd, bro. And if you don't smell it, no one's running away. Do you think he really sprayed it? No, it starts to become evidence of absence.
Well, I wouldn't say there's an absent. I wouldn't say there's no evidence.
What's the evidence?
Well, I just gave you one, a per se causal chain. And then second one. Well, here's another argument then. Do you know the fine tuning argument? Even if you do, I'm still going to
Yeah.
the audience. Okay. So the fine tuning argument is that the universe is made of finely tuned constants that if they were slightly different, life could not possibly exist. The universe itself couldn't maintains structure. And so, with this unity, with this preciseness, people argue there is someone who engineered these precise constants. And then, secondly, someone could go even further by saying, well, these constants, they're math equations, they're conceptual, in the sense that, well, sure, the gravitational force, the gravitational constant, isn't conceptual. You can see it playing out. It doesn't physically exist. You can't measure the constant, but you can equate it. And people argue, well, from that, it shows an unconscious, or it shows a conscious creator, and it shows design. What do you have to think about that?
I don't really believe in that at all because I mean, you look in nature, it's I believe in evolution, and evolution kind of does explain that. I mean, life, if we humans were like different, if say our cells were different, if we didn't have DNA, which we probably started out without it, we wouldn't be here and able to like form. So is it that crazy to say that maybe the entire universe, it doesn't have its own DNA, but maybe something just in every atom that could act like it? Is it like crazy to say that maybe it was evolution and it tried to start multiple times but failed until now we found the perfect balance?
So I just want to make sure I'm not straw manning your position. I want to make sure I understand completely. So your answer to the argument is that we have adapted to the universe and that the universe in some way also adapts.
Yeah, I think the universe has is adapted to function,
That's an interesting take.
or physics have adapted around the universe. Either way.
That's an interesting take. But for the universe to adapt, there needs to be a universe already there. And now, let me explain that a little bit more because I feel like that's a broad sentence. What I mean by that precisely is that for for something to adapt, it would need to be there, and it would also need to be placed in conditions where adaptation is necessary. And while you could say, well, maybe these constants weren't precise, so they adapted, but I feel as if we're acting that these constants are inseparable or other than the universe, when I think they are one and the same. So I think by saying the constants adapted or the physics adapted, which then allowed for the universe, I think they're both one and the same. So I think these two things, which are one, so one thing adapted, but what is it adapting to, and was it there to begin with for adaptation to take place?
Well, yeah, that's what I meant by my second point, where maybe just physics adapted to the universe. Maybe the universe was always how it was, because at one point it was like one infinitely dense point until it exploded. If you believe in the Big Bang Theory,
I think
not
it's
the
ridiculous.
show, of course. I
Yeah.
love that show though.
Um. I think it still stands that, and then these physics aren't inseparable from the universe. They are the universe being described.
Yeah.
So I think what the issue with saying the physics adapted to the universe is that that's separating where there is no separation.
Okay, I can agree with that, but how does that lead to God? Why couldn't that just be science?
Yeah, well, I'd pivot a little bit here with that because I wanna try this out. Um, here's I don't know. Tell me what you think of this, but here it goes. So, if you were to read a magazine and it has punctuality and it follows kind of a logic of grammar, you can see that there's spacing, and you can figure out a space goes here, so we can predict the next space. The issue with doing this to try and explain where this words and sentences in magazine comes from is that describing the linguistic behavior does not arrive us at origin. So in other words, mechanisms can't explain their origin.
Okay. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think
Yeah.
it can explain the origin if you kind of reverse engineer something. You know, if you look at a piece of paper, you can eventually tell that it was dried like papaya or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Well,
I
I don't mean in sense of material. I mean in sense of authorship. You can't.
off.
You wouldn't be able, or origin. You wouldn't be able to figure out why was it put together and who put it together. Because, well, sure, you
Okay.
can figure out it's a dried wood. You would never be able to describe, well, then who dried out that wood? Why is there a dried wood? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.